This is the Momma Fit Podcast. This podcast is dedicated to all those mamas out there that want to fit a workout in a day, or want to fit in a moment of bliss, or hey, you want to fit into those skinny jeans. Dana Dieters is the host of Momma Fit Podcast. She's a mother of two beautiful girls, a wife, and entrepreneur. Her passion became her profession when she had a wake-up call about 15 years ago. With the support of others and a positive attitude, she was able to overcome the hurdles in her life. This mama strives to wake up and conquer each day to make it better than the day before. Her passion for business and education to others is what drives this mama to be the best version of Momma Fit. With Dana's background, she hopes to help you with your business, health and fitness needs, family time in the kitchen, and give you motivation and inspiration to tackle your day. And most importantly, to help you fit in your Momma Fit time.
Welcome back to the Momma Fit Podcast. Today we are going to talk about something I am really loving right now, and I have been for the last year. It's called my Rollga. So the Rollga is a great myofascial release tool that I use basically every single day. It doesn't matter if I work out or not. It's for stress relief, it's for tight muscles, it's for just feeling good and having better movement. So today I'm talking about fascia fitness and basically why we need to move our fascia, aka connective tissue. This is a hot topic right now in body-related fields. You're going to see this a lot more because recovery and rest is the best thing after workouts or just in general. If you're not even working out, this is great for people that need to move better. So some people ask me, what is fascia? Am I doing a facial on my face or what? Some people don't understand it. And I will be honest, as a personal trainer, we didn't use fascia a lot as something what we used for fitness. We never really did much with the fascia, even though we were still doing it. We just never used that wording. So I'm going to basically go through a brief primer about what is getting the attention these days about fascia. First, many think fascia is a glorified body stocking, and that's what kind of it is. A seamless piece of tissue that saran wraps just underneath the skin. And while this is true of the superficial fascia, it's important to understand that it's richly multidimensional tissue that forms your internal soft tissue architecture. From the superficial, aka body stocking, fascia, it dives deep in forms of pods that actually create your musculature like a honeycomb from the inside out. So let me bring it down again and say what this actually looks like. So imagine what it looks like when you bite into a wedge of an orange and then look at those individual wrap pods of the juice. Okay, that's what we are like too. Fascia also connects muscle to bone. Tendons are considered a part of the fascia system. And bone to bone, ligaments are also considered part of the fascial system. Slings, your organs structure, cushions your vertebrae. Yep, your discs are considered a part of this system too, and wraps your bones. So imagine for a moment, you could remove every part of you that's not fascia. You would have a perfect 3D model of exactly what you look like. Not just a recognizable way like your posture or facial features, but also the position of your liver and how your colon wraps. To say it's everywhere is far from overstating things. In fact, it turns out fascia everywhereness is one of the reasons it's overlooked for so long. Until recently, it was viewed as packing peanuts of soft tissue. Therefore, in dissections for study and for research, most of it was cleanly scraped away, thrown in the bucket, so the cadaver could be tidily made to resemble the anatomical text from which people were studying. What fascia researchers are discovering is pretty amazing, not only just for fascia nerds like me, but for anyone who wants to put their body to good, healthy use. So without further ado, here is some awesome information that I've been learning about fascia and how you can use it to maximize not just your workout performance, but also your plain old ability to feel good in your body. All right, number 1, fascia is a tensional fluid system. While it's difficult for us to understand how a support structure could be a fluid structure because we're not exactly making a high-rise building out of Jell-O, it's true. Juicy fascia is a happy fascia. The best analogy I can give is like a sponge. When a sponge dries out, it becomes brittle and hard. It can easily be broken with only a little force because of how crispy it becomes. However, when a sponge is wet and well hydrated, it gets springy and it's resilient. You can crush it into a little ball and it bounces back. You can wring it and twist it, but it's difficult to break. Once we understand that we're like that on the inside, keeping our fascia hydrated takes on more importance. Our mobility, integrity, and resilience are determined in a large part by how well we hydrate our fascia. In fact, that we call stretching a muscle is actually the fibers of the connective tissue, like collagen, gliding along one another on a mucousy protein called, this is a big one, glycosaminoglycans. I'm going to say GAGs for short. So GAGs depend on their chemistry, can glue layers together when water is absent, or allow them to skate and slide on one another when hydrated. This is one of the reasons most injuries are fascial. If we get dried out, we are more brittle and at much more of a risk for more of a tear, a rupture, erosion, and that sort of thing. So you think, how can I actually take care of this issue? Do we drink more water? Yes and no. Staying hydrated, drinking water does continue to be important. But if you have dehydrated fascia, it is more likely you have little kinks in your holes. So all that water you drink can't actually reach the dehydration tissue and it gets urinated away, never having the chance to reach that crispy tissue. To be able to get the fluid to all of your important nooks and crannies, you need to first get better at irrigating via the holes. And to do that, you've got to get to work on your soft tissue to untangle those gluey bits. So doing any form of myofascial work will do the trick. You can easily do this at home. If you have a Rollga or you need a Rollga, I will put it in the notes for this episode, and you can get your Rollga today if you want. They have awesome deals going on all the time, and this is one of the best foam rollers that I've ever used because they have different contours. And some people ask why the contours for the Rollga, which is a great question, and this is the reason why. So the contours will allow multi-angles of pressure along the various amount of pressure we put on the Rollga. So each zone on the Rollga has contours, and that's what they're called, zones. It serves for different purposes. The center one zone can be used for pressure completely around the tissue, ranging from 20% of your body weight to up to 40% of our body weight. And Rollga zone also avoids that one spot that a normal foam roller that doesn't. So like the spine, the vertebrae area. Zone 2 can be used to shear the muscle and apply deep releasing pressure, which is the best feeling on the low back area. Zone 3 is the most effective when you want angles of the pressure without applying a flat 90 degrees of pressure, like the shins, which is awesome. Like I never felt like I needed to roll out my shins, but when I started, it was amazing. My legs moved better. So I can't say anything more about how great this is. It's really great. So, and then they have one more, zone 4, which is the ball on each side, which is great for like doing stuff on the wall if you want to get into your pectoral area, or if you want to get into your groin area as well and stretching that out, your hip flexors. It's really, really great for so many things. And I've never felt better using anything else. Like this thing is like top notch. So I am doing this fascia episode on basically why we need to start using this kind of tool. And you don't have to use a Rollga. You can use a regular foam roller, but this is just my opinion on what I like the best as far as doing any type of foam rolling, and why moving our bodies and moving our fascia is so important. I mean, you could even take off a day of working out and just do the Rollga and you're going to feel amazing. All right. The second thing on fascia is why variation matters. So movement also gets the hydration out of the tissue as well, but the movement needs to be varied. This means variation not just of the movement itself, but also the variation of tempo. Not only does moving constantly in the same ways and in the same planes put you at a further risk of joint erosion, but you can also be dehydrating the fascia in a particular pattern. So setting you up for that brittle tissue that injuries love so much. Kind of like doing the same workout day after day is going to put you in that category of injuries because you're constantly doing the same thing. That'll just give you more risks for more joint and bone issues. So basically, keep things varied. Okay, another key point about fascia is that it's all connected. A really quick example is that you are in your kitchen and your leg is in the bedroom. This is a quick, short example of not being connected. Granted, this is a very seriously horrible, wrong scenario, but just something easy to understand. Okay, so we're not dropped on our heads as children, and we get that our parts are not detachable. But the problem comes when we think of them as attachable, because the way we all learn and study anatomy, whether the extent of your studying was singing the hip bone connected to the thigh bone song in preschool or something more extensive, we conceive of human bodies as attached by a magical soft tissue, versions of tape. To make this a little bit more understanding is that since our body is all connected, and if we end up having one thing wrong with ourselves, let's just say, here's a little example, is if you tug on one end of a sweater, you will see the tug traveling a long distance to the other side of the sweater. So if we are injured, let's just say we have an injury in one area, we end up babying that area, and then we end up getting kind of stiff necks, or like just say you have something wrong with your foot or your knee or your hip, and then you end up having issues with your neck or your shoulder. This is an example of how we're connected and how everything kind of travels along. So for athletes, this can bring the dreaded domino effect is what it's kind of called, because it's like an example of someone getting a neck injury from a minor whiplash when they're pretty young. And since they're pretty young, they think it's not a big deal. So they ignore it and it gets better. But once they enter college or maybe their career, they suddenly have this nagging shoulder pain with that extra typing and sitting as they do when they're trying to work or homework or whatnot. And then as the years go by, they start to think of themselves as having tight shoulders, and they have this shoulder issue. And I have a lot of clients like this. And sometimes they have this pinching pain when they lift their arm. So right now they're dealing with tight shoulders, tight neck area. They're getting headaches. They have the occasional low back spasm. And then on top of that, some of my clients, and I've had a couple of them like this, love running. So then they end up running and then they get plantar fasciitis. So this is kind of like the domino effect. It comes from the neck area, goes down to the shoulders, goes to the back, and then it goes down to your feet and calves area. So this is kind of what can happen, but we can avoid this. So the best way to avoid the domino effect is to keep your fascia healthy. You want to make sure you're smoothing out that fascia, releasing all that tension and tightness you have to loosen up that area so then it doesn't create more of that pattern. Okay, the next topic I want to go on to is the springiness of fascia. It wants to help you out. What do you get when you add juiciness to connection? Springiness. There you go. When your tissue retains or regains its natural spring, the rebound of the fascia allows you to use less muscle power and therefore fatigue less rapidly. So if you want to jump higher, run faster, throw farther, you need to pay attention to nourishing that elastic quality of your fascia. For example, for runners, when you run with healthy fascia that forces you to transmit into the ground, gets returned to you through the whole transitional network of fascia. It's basically having a little built-in trampoline action going on. So once you've done the work to rehydrate your tissue, you'll want to embrace bouncy movements. So some examples of how we can do this is to run, jump rope, box jumps, and kettlebell training. There is much more that can be done too. I did a course this summer for fascia, and we used a lot of different types of more non-invasive workout type of stuff with balls and bands, and it's just about getting that little bounce. And so it can be pretty fun. Just bouncing around can also help you with this whole spring effect. All right, finishing up this last part is that I want you to know that this is actually the largest and richest sensory organ of our body. So we really need to take care of it. So this little tidbit of the recent fascia research was a shocker to me. It turns out that fascia is one of the richest sensory organs with between 6 to 10 times higher quality of sensory nerve receptors than the muscle. In fact, it's actually possible fascia may be equal or superior to the retina, which has been so far considered the richest human sensory organ. So this makes your fascia system pretty important. So knowing where your body is in space, but also of graceful full body orchestra of movement. A well-hydrated, supple fascia is crucial to maintaining your natural settings of alignment and function. And maintaining those natural settings will keep small problems from snowballing into larger ones. So again, training our fascia different also is pretty big and important. Making sure to keep injuries from being chronic issues that flare up in and out of life, and practicing what you can and improving that fascia health is so important to you to keep you mobile and functional for longer through life. As in moving well, but also the perks of that, some of which are avoiding nasty surgeries and joint replacements, okay? While it's impossible to not be using at least one sort of sensory qualities of the fascia, some really great ideas to get fascia healthy is by starting your morning, waking up, getting a nice stretch all the way out to the tops and bottom before you even get out of bed. That is the best wake up for your fascia. Maybe make sure that you are getting a little bounce in your step. Maybe as you're getting ready during the day, bounce a little bit, jumping or whatever, and then maybe end your day with some myofascial release with like a Rollga or maybe a Hilo or something that is easy to use, that's going to hit your targets in a healthy way. So that is kind of what I have all on fascia. I know it's a lot to handle, a lot to think about. You might have to re-listen to this again and really understand it. But I really feel like this is the biggest improvement in someone's body, is just having that fascia health, because we feel like we're back to life, like your body can move better. So anyways, that's all I got for now. So go on forth, love your fascia, and train happy.
Thanks so much for spending your time with the Momma Fit Podcast. Dana is so happy to share her tips and tricks with you. If you loved this podcast, we'd be so happy if you could share this episode with your friends and family. Also, if you have time, please leave us a review of your honest thoughts and reflections of the podcast on iTunes or our app. We'd be so grateful. If you have any topic or suggestion that you want answered, leave those in the comments below and make sure that you fit in your Momma Fit time.